Welcome, everyone. This is our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, New Carico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Cadeas Kalut in Newport Beach, California, and Pam Adger in Menifee, California. This is our Android Week. Good to have you with us. Thanks. Sorry we're a little bit late. Cadeas could not be with us, and I can't tell you why. But trust me, I'm sure he'll post about it later, if he hasn't already. So, Alan Furstenberg, welcome, sir. How are you?
Peachy keen, Dan.
Excellent. So, oh, well, the two things I was going to bring up front are now topics, so I can't. So we have exciting things. I'm going to talk about that airplane and how we can lose a 777 in 2014. But not up front. First, let's talk some Android stuff.
Android stuff. Why in the world would we talk Android stuff on this show, Dan? Why?
Was that a dig just then?
Why would I make a dig at you, Dan? Why?
You're overmodulated.
Well, fix that.
Well, I think it's you. I don't know. All right, so our first topic, looking at our exciting topic document here, is... well, and I'm not going to do that. We're going to go to AT&T, and it says AT&T cuts its 2 GB mobile share value plan by $15 to stay competitive. We have complained at length and repeatedly ad nauseum, to use another cliche, about how the wireless industry is surprisingly non-competitive when it should be competitive, because there are, competitive by nature means there are multiple players competing with each other. Sprint's losing money. And then we see basically everyone, you get screwed no matter what company you use. But lately I have seen prices coming down. Sprint, for example, I was talking to them randomly and they said, oh, well, you're on a legacy plan, and they saved me $35 a month and give me the exact same thing, unlimited everything that I had before, but I'm paying $35 a month less. And then now we're seeing AT&T coming down, which is a great argument to not let T-Mobile be bought by an existing carrier. What do you think of this? Are you an AT&T user?
Nope, I am a T-Mobile user, and quite proud of it, actually. What do I think of this? Well, they got to do something because everyone still hates their network. Nobody's ever been particularly happy about their pricing plans. I got to say, though, this is kind of a dramatic turn. People who I know who are grandfathered on ancient unlimited data plans almost think this is a good deal. And considering how much they were being scalped for those plans, that's a surprising thing to say. So, maybe this will keep them going for a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'll see. It's AT&T. When I first chose Sprint, it was basically because their coverage was better. But at one point, I got an AT&T phone. I forget what the phone was, and the service wasn't good. And then I ended up returning it. I couldn't use it where my office is. So there you have it. AT&T impresses for the first time.
Well, what's not to be impressed about the fact that they're actually dropping $15 from their plan. They're inviting people who otherwise wouldn't even be qualified to switch plans into this one. So they must be trying to get everyone on board. When previously, they didn't care. They were willing to take you for as much as they could. Now they're almost being nice to you. I mean, what company is this anyway?
It's the American Telephone and Telegraph Company. Neither of which, I don't know that they do telegraph still. Is there telegraph?
No, the U.S. disconnected its last telegraph line only about 10 years ago. Maybe it was more like 15 at this point.
I'm glad Wikipedia could make it. So there. All right. So kudos once again to AT&T. All right, next up is this, I don't know, kind of ghetto tablet, but I'm glad to see
Kind of ghetto tablet? Kind of ghetto tablet? You're seriously understating it. Go ahead and explain a little bit further.
All right, so HP has introduced a quote unquote low cost tablet in every measurable. This is you get what you pay for story. It's an 8-inch Android tablet, and it's $170. It's this article from GigaOM refers to it as somewhat underwhelming specs that fall shy of its $169.99 price tag. So it's white and silver, which the person likes. It's got 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. It's Wi-Fi only, connects via 802.11. It's 25 gigabytes of free lifetime cloud storage from Box. It's 16 gigs of RAM, or 1 gig of RAM, 16 gig storage, a micro SD slot, 3800 milliamp, blah, blah, blah. So what do you think, Alan? Are you going to race, not walk, but run to the store to buy one of these?
Let me be absolutely clear on my opinion of this tablet. 169? Are they kidding me? For these specs?
Yeah, this should be a $100 tablet, right?
Nuts.
This should be a $99.99 tablet.
Yes, this is $100 or less, and it's running Jelly Bean 2 too. Okay, this tablet is in tablet years ancient. It is a joke. They have got to be kidding. Of course, we are talking HP here, so this really should come as no surprise. But still, this is pathetic.
Don't hold back.
Well, if you insist, I will really let loose.
So we do not give this one 5 stars. We do not highly recommend this tablet, is what you're saying. Oh my God. All right, outtake reel. Right there. I want to make a note. All right, we're not going to do.
You release that, and I release the pre-show pictures.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
I looked it up, by the way. Western Union's last telegraph line was decommissioned in 2006 in the U.S.
What was it used for? Was it still
telegraph.
used?
What else do you think you use telegraph service
No, what
for?
was it used for in 2006 or 2005? Was it like still around for 50 years and no one used it, but they still had it?
No,
or was it actually used?
It was probably marginally used for highly
Wiring.
reliable transmissions, because the internet wasn't a reliable transmission medium. So, you had to have something. For all I know, there's an IP over telegraph service protocol that I'm now curious about seeing if I can locate. Never mind.
Wouldn't all of our internet lines be that?
No.
It's copper. It's IP over
Yeah,
copper.
but telegraph is a specific form, is circuit switched. It's either circuit switched or relay, unlike packet switching. I guess you could think of it as sort of packet. Anyway.
Not to get off topic. We're light on topics tonight, but not witty banter. We're not light on that.
I don't know. You've got some interesting concepts of what witty banter might be.
I don't know. I just open my mouth and it comes out.
Here we go. Effective January 27, 2006, Western Union will discontinue all telegram and commercial messaging services. We regret any inconvenience this may cause you. And we thank you for your loyal patronage.
Are you serious? They had customers? Yeah. Telegram
what?
Customers?
Yeah.
Who sent telegrams in 2006?
I don't know.
Seriously, I mean, Alan, stop. Pam, don't. Stop. Oh my God. That's my only telegram joke, folks. I'll be here all week. Okay.
They used to do mobile money transfer? Yeah, but what was this on?
I guess they used, wires to transfer the money. And then maybe they, probably instead of internet, they actually probably switched to satellite dishes, I would think.
They were doing satellite before then, though.
Okay. So,
our next topic.
Not to interrupt Alan reading us a Wikipedia page, our new audio our new web to audio service, Wiki Dan and Alan. Next up, this is a topic that is all Furstenberg. Google pledges to help developers with wearable devices, and then there's a substitute article I point to, and I like the headline. And the headline here is, in 2 weeks, Google may have the only OEM agnostic OS in a market again. So tell us what this is about, why this is a big deal. Do you agree with that? Obviously, you're a big proponent of wearables, and you think glass is just the tip of the iceberg. And tell us what's going on. Are they going to conquer this market again? Are they going to do to wearables what they did to smartphones with Android?
That's a really good question. So let's explain what the story on this is first. Sundar, who is the head of Android and Chrome, was at South by Southwest.
We're on a just to clarify for our viewers, we're on a first name basis with Sundar because we're unable to pronounce his last name. Go ahead.
Well, we are apparently on a first name basis with all of the Google VPs.
Right.
You know, Vic, Chi,
and now Sundar.
And now Sundar, yes. We are hoping to get Sundar for an interview one of these days.
We should just start announcing that he's going to be on the show, and then just pull a, is it Kimmel who's, apologies to Matt Damon, we ran out of time, or something. We could just at the end of the show, apologies to Sundar, we ran out of time. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Alan. I'll stop being stupid.
I don't know. Do we refer to everybody at Google by their first name?
I don't know. I just can't. I literally cannot pronounce his last name, so I call him Sundar.
I don't know. I'm thinking, it's Larry, Sergey, Vic, Chi.
Well, okay. So our first question to Sundar when he comes on will be the same as our first question to Kadeus when he joined our panel. How the hell do I pronounce your last name? And then,
anyway,
he'll get,
so Sundar
he'll be in a fit of
was at
giggles.
South by Southwest, in various sessions and various Q&As. And one of the things that he announced in his session is that in 2 weeks, Google will be releasing a software development kit for wearables, as he phrased it. And there's a lot of speculation about what exactly this means and what's going to be released and so forth. But what it sounds like is that Google is making a big play to try and corner, to get the first jump on the wearables market. And it's no big surprise, because most of the wearables that are out there now are either using their own custom system or they're using Android already. So it's no big surprise that that Android is trying to make a very, very solid play for this environment. In some ways, we saw the first angles of this when KitKat was released. KitKat has a low memory footprint version, and there's hooks to let app developers know if they're running in one of these low memory footprint versions. So it makes some sense to say, okay, we're extending that model and providing this software development kit to let you access more sensors, do things on wearables that you will not normally do in other environments. But otherwise, this is going to be an Android platform. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what actually gets released.
Well,
I think...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go, Dan.
I was just going to say, it's interesting because they have conquered phones, so to speak. Android is available for everyone to use for free, and then you can use the Google services if you take them under their terms, right? And play by the rules. And so they're now the #1 operating system on phones worldwide. So I guess Google's making a similar play with wearables, and it would be a whole lot easier for other companies to simply use that than start from scratch, right? So this seems genius, but it seems logical at the same time.
The question is going to be, are they going to do this in such a way that they're not going to fragment, that they're going to allow for Play stores to handle it, that, are they ready with all of the issues that this could bring up? I mean, because right now, for example, you look at Glass does not use the Play Store, and who knows if it's going to in the future, but certainly it's not set up to do so currently. It's got its own store for various reasons. There's actually a lot of questions, and this actually has not come up a lot. Very few of the articles that I've seen raise this. I thought about this afternoon. Jason Salas came up with a similar question this afternoon. With Sundar announcing in 2 weeks we're going to get an SDK for wearables, and a week and a half ago, the Glass team saying that they were working on porting, on moving Glass to use KitKat. Are these two related? It would be far too big a coincidence to assume that they're not related. So I'm surprised there are not a lot more Glass developers who are just frothing at the mouth over Sundar's announcement.
Well, we shall see, but I think it's awesome and cool that they're doing this. And are you reluctant?
I'm cautiously optimistic on this one. I think that certainly they can do things very well if this was a well thought out release. If this was rushed, I think it's only going to cause them harm.
Okay.
And we got to realize Android is only now beginning to deal with fragmentation issues that have cropped up over the past 4 years, 3 years.
That's one of the biggest complaints against Android.
Right. They can't go do it again. One of the reasons why Java Mobile failed was because they introduced this really, really crappy Java Mobile edition, which wasn't really a standard. It was kind of this half-hearted, lame implementation of suggestions. And hopefully that's not what this is. Hopefully this is solid and real. And okay, if the first release has some issues, I think that'll be okay. But they need to follow up with fixes if there are issues. And they need to do it quickly.
One big thing with phones, it's the consumer's very unforgiving. And typically most people get into a 2-year deal. So it's a big decision what phone you're going to get. You research it, you ask people, you make a big decision, and then you're stuck with it for 2 years. But with wearables, it may be different. So I don't know how that.
Well, I don't know. How often do you change your watch?
I mean.
And I can tell you, people who bought into Glass are going to be really pissed if their Glass becomes obsolete in a year.
I would think. Hefty price tag there.
Right. So.
Really, almost the equivalent of a 2-year phone contract and the phone. Low end. Okay.
So it's. I don't think it's that straightforward. Hopefully, the way they do it and what they do, it'll be done well, or at least well enough that they can deal with issues rapidly. And I think that's going to be the big thing. If they make it so that once you're using the mobile development kit 1.0, that you can never, that you'll have to wait for your carrier to upgrade to 1.1. Forget it. Game over already.
So Alan remains cautiously pessimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay. All right. So next up, this is kind of actually more of a Google Plus Week story. Our other program, which airs at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Friday nights, Google Plus Week. This is a neat story from The Verge, and I'm trying to find it. I screwed up my. Now I'm in the comments here. This is about the co-founder of Android. Andy Rubin, of course, comes to mind when you think of founding Android, but this guy, Rich Miner, was a co-founder, and the story is about Android's co-founder spending Google's billions hunting for the next big thing, and about how he was at the Mobile World Congress looking for stuff. So I wanted to get Alan's.
Can we just interrupt and say how awesome is it to have a name Rich Miner
and be in Google Ventures.
And be in Google Ventures.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I were Jon Stewart right now because I could totally, yeah. Or Colbert. Yeah, so there's two things here. One, what's your general take on this story? And two, what about one of the cool things about Google? It's also it's a pro and a con. Is that they're hungry and they're always looking for something to acquire or the next thing. So it's sort of like the good side is they're not complacent like a Microsoft. They're not done yet. They're still innovating with driverless cars and Project Loon and all these crazy things that some of which will bear fruit. But the downside is that they drop stuff like a hot potato once they determine, okay, we're done with this, like their RSS reader and other things. And it's almost like, on the one hand, I'm excited to see this new construction going on. On the other hand, it's frustrating every time you go by the building year after year, there's all this scaffolding because they're never done. So what's your take on that whole notion?
On what whole notion?
I mean, the notion that, whatever you want to say on this story.
I want to know what notion you think I'm supposed to be addressing here.
What do you think about this guy? What do you think any thoughts on Rich Miner and what he's doing with ventures? And
he's an interesting character. I mean, the interesting thing about any venture capital group is, these guys are ideally more than just people who are forking over money. Hopefully they're forking over money, and hopefully they're forking over lots of it, and, I wouldn't object too hard if they forked over some of it to me. But these guys give a lot more than just money. They also give experience and understanding of the industry and establish industry contacts, and this seems like a guy who doesn't just understand the mobile industry. He kind of possesses that vision that a lot of people don't possess. So Google using him as, in their venture arm makes a lot of sense, because he's the sort of person that can actually look at a product and say, yeah, these guys have, they're what they're doing is fine, but there's no vision to it, versus the guys who are there with this brilliant idea but don't quite know how to pull it off. And that, I think, is a great place that Google Ventures can step in and help them pull it off. So that's the sort of thing that I think he's good at doing. That is the unique role that he'll be able to play. There are some great quotes in here. I mean, they've interviewed him. They have him stopping at the Nokia kiosk and taking a look at the X, the Android phone. And he fiddles with it for a while, and he comes to the conclusion, I have no idea when anyone would want to get this thing, but I just wanted to see Nokia's take on an Android phone. So that's almost the sense of humor that it sounds like he has. So I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, you can't create that mindset. Folks who know. I'm reminded of the movie The Social Network. The guy who created Napster, whose name escapes me, that ability to find companies, the serial entrepreneur who has a good batting average. You can't train that into somebody. They either have it or they don't have it. And I know that I think they bought Milk to get Kevin Rose, right? And then MG Siegler joined Google Ventures, I think. And that was after there was a controversy with him, with the middle finger picture in Google Plus and stuff. So it's interesting. They're not only interested in the next big company, but they're interested in acquiring talent to find the next big company. So it's exciting. They still are that company founded by two college kids in a dorm room. As far as their mindset, they've never stopped being hungry and eager to find the next thing. So that's exciting.
Well, and I think that shows in two ways. The first is it shows in Google X. This is where they're just willing to just throw money and see what comes of it, and that's pretty awesome in some ways. Just that still mentality of, yeah, I can just dig my hands into something and figure it out. And the second is something that she said on Google Plus Week a couple of weeks back, when I asked him, how do you keep people focused on their jobs when you've got these big moonshot projects? And he said you hire people that are excited about what they do. And that describes Google in a nutshell. It's people who are excited about what they do.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like there was a post going around today. I think it was a private post on Google Plus, but I think both of us saw it, and we saw multiple Googlers. This was Sunday, right? So they were off the clock, so to speak. I guess they're never totally off the clock, but they were
Sure they
engaging.
are. No. Sure they are off the clock.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the guys watching servers, in a server farm or something on a Sunday, but these were just regular Monday through Friday guys, and they were actively engaging and pinging each other on a Sunday. They're excited about their product, and it's a niche product. They're not thinking about Loon or their families and friends and social things. They were on this on a Sunday, and when it would have been perfectly acceptable for them to engage on a Monday, right? So I'm very impressed with Chi's team, and just in general, there's I don't know, it's when you see it, dedication and stuff. Not that I want to get into some fawning over Google or anything, but I do think that this shows that Google has that attribute of they still think like a young, lean, upstart company, even though they're tens of thousands of employees now and $1 billion publicly traded company. They still haven't forgotten those days when they were young and eager and hungry. So there. Okay, are we good on that?
Oh yeah.
All right, next up is a discussion, and this is kind of we've seen in the news. I saw an article, and I don't have it here in the link yet. I'll add it, but about this horrific story about the Malaysian airline, and the FAA made news or was in the news this week because of this drone thing. A ruling in this case against this guy who flew a drone over traffic and underpass and stuff. And the story there is they've been dragging their feet for so long on regulating unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and a judge just said that this is basically a model airplane. They can't regulate it, and he threw out the $10,000 fine against this guy. So the reason I bring that up is they seem to be sort of stuck in the past technologically. They're not acknowledging that this technology exists. It's almost become a First Amendment issue on that, where they're denying people the right to use $40 to $1,000 quote unquote drones because they're afraid to come up with regulations. It's so much easier for a bureaucrat, especially in the government, to say no than to come up with a way to make something happen. And so here we have an airplane that has disappeared, apparently, and we don't know what, I don't know what the latest is. I haven't been looking at the news in the last hour, but basically I think the Air France thing that disappeared similarly, it took 5 days for them to find the first wreckage. How in 2014 can we lose track of a 777 with 200 and some people on board, with God knows how many mobile devices, one had to be on, even if they weren't supposed to. What's the? I don't understand how this can happen. This seems like insane. And I saw one guy who seemed to be sort of an apologist on one of the talking head networks, and he said that airline crashes are so rare that they haven't invested in some sort of like a live. The black box, which is a misnomer because it's actually a red box, but the flight data recorder, why isn't that constantly streaming? Is it orange? Okay, so
I believe it's international orange.
There's an international orange color?
Yes, the color is known as that glowing orange, that hazard orange color that you see. That's known as international orange.
So it's like Canadian bacon.
It's a standard orange color.
Okay.
As my survival instructor once told me, you will never see international orange anywhere in nature.
You have a survivalist? Did you?
Of course, I had survival training.
Did you perchance encounter him through a AM radio commercial?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
While watching Glenn Beck, I met my
No, I was in the
No, so
military,
so
Dan.
what do you think? What do you think? Seriously, how can we lose a freaking 777?
What
Uh,
makes you think we were following it? How? I mean, Dan, how often do you lose your car keys?
I'm trying to see the relevance. That's,
I'm,
I
I
mean,
mean, you
every
make
other
it
week.
sound like there is somebody staring at the radar constantly going, there it goes, there it goes.
We don't want to make light of
There it
this tragic
goes.
tragedy.
Shh, Dan, I'm watching that. There it goes. No, but seriously, we unless the airplane is doing something dramatic, like changing altitude, like moving from one corridor to another corridor, which they need flight approval for, they're mostly left on their own. There's no need to track them.
I just know that there are apps where if you have a teenage kid who's just started driving, you can basically look and find out exactly where they are at any given time from their phone. There's the new Android thing, the location thing. If you can't find your phone, it'll tell you, via GPS exactly where it is, and we lose the freaking plane. That doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like technology, if nothing else, we should be able to track a plane with 300 people on board. I don't think that's too much to ask, and I think that, it's been, 100 years since we started flying, and we can't do this?
There's a lot of assumptions there. I mean, there's the assumption that there's power for it to transmit. Obviously, there isn't, or we would know where it is. You're not going to be tracking it constantly because there's no need to track it constantly, and what are you going to do with this information? Who is going to be the one who's sitting at the radar scope tracking, or the GPS scope, technically, I guess, since you're not using radar, tracking where it is at every given moment?
I see this tweet right now from Newsbreaker. It just popped up on I have a little thing here on the bottom right that gives me different tweets. And vanished, we are bewildered. Air and sea search for flight 370 proves fruitless. I just, I don't know. I just wanted to, I hope that enough attention to this issue will be brought so that they can maybe, install GPS on an airplane or something. I
don't know. Here's the thing. What is the huge major problem that you think installing GPS? Well, here's the thing. Okay, so you install GPS on an aircraft, which, it has currently. That's not what GPS does. GPS tells you where you are. So you now actually need something to relay where you are to somebody else who cares.
I think that the flight data recorder should constantly stream to something, a satellite or whatever, and it shouldn't be. It seems ridiculous in 2014 that we have to locate the wreckage and find the international orange box, and then if it's functioning, it gives a beacon for 30 days.
So you want to take up valuable bandwidth to broadcast constantly a stream of utterly routine information.
I mean, how many? Yes, I want to do that. I want to take up valuable, because it's only routine until your loved one is lost on this airline crash.
Well, it's utterly routine.
How many times does your phone ping something when you're not even using it?
To get a freaking
tweet or to get a text message.
Your phone is operating, your cell phone is operating rather inefficiently most of the time, yes. Which is why you have text messaging. So it can take advantage of that otherwise useless pinging around.
Right, but when you if I send you a text on your phone,
Dan, no. Text messaging exists because they were sending around these packets for phones to verify where they were with cell towers all the time. And some bright person realized that if they piggyback text messages on it, they could charge for these maintenance packets they had to send around anyway, and thus text messaging was born. Okay? So the question is, are you willing to take up the bandwidth? And remember, we're not talking local cell towers. which you can keep adding more, and you're going to alleviate bandwidth problems. Okay, you're talking something that needs to shoot data up into a satellite at a fixed point. So you've got a relatively narrow amount of bandwidth available to you, because you and every single other flight in the air at that very moment around the world need to be able to communicate with this satellite, with this constellation of satellites. And what are you going to send to this constellation of satellites? I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still here. Still here. Still here. Hi. Hi. Still here. And then the satellite's got to send this information to somebody. So it's got to send it back to the home office. Okay, and the home office is going to have somebody sitting there staring at a map going, "You're still here." Yep. Yep. Yep.
Only
okay?
we could find the humor in a tragic plane crash.
No, I don't find the humor in the tragedy. What I find the humor in is your ridiculous proposal.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I just think, why does my phone have a better system for finding it than a Boeing 777? That's what I find ridiculous. I hear what you're saying.
Because your phone has
your
phone has cells that it communicates with. If your phone, the only thing it was communicating with was a satellite in orbit, well, there's a reason why sat phones, never really took off. And it's because they're ridiculously expensive. And it's because of the limited bandwidth available to them.
I think it would be easier if someone were on the plane and they had a cell phone on. I think it would be easier to locate the location of the phone than the airplane. I think something's wrong.
Probably
with that
not,
scenario.
since they were flying over water, so the phone wouldn't have been able to check in anywhere anyway. There were no cell towers nearby.
I'm still right. Somehow. I'm going to play this tape back. And All right, so...
Hi.
We...
Dan, let's put some things in perspective. And I wish I had looked this up. The ship that carried the atomic bomb to its launch,
the Enola Gay, right?
No, not the airplane. The ship.
Oh, okay.
There was a ship that ferried it to where the Enola Gay was. Okay, on its return voyage, the ship was lost at sea. Was sank by a Japanese patrol boat. Okay, it took them.
Too little, too late for the Japanese.
Yeah. It was actually interesting. The court martial afterwards was interesting. The testimony about that. But it took the naval. It took the naval base some time to realize that the ship had been lost, because it was expected in port, but ships are delayed sometimes. These things happen, and we have a war to win. Oh wait, we just won it. So, even people who care about incredibly important things, you're going to, you can't keep a constant eye on everything all the time. You can't. And that's why you trust the pilot in the cockpit. And that's why you give them a co-pilot and a navigator.
Okay. Well, I think you can, and we should. So we'll agree to disagree. A rare disagreement on our Android Week.
About the burning Android subjects of the day, clearly.
Indeed. Okay, so we're going to go to... this was a discussion topic, and then we moved it to Alan's app. What's interesting is Alan is recommending a Fox app, and I am recommending an NPR app. On many levels, that is in itself intriguing. But Alan is going to recommend an app, and I was going to ask him what he thought of the show Cosmos. And the reason I wanted to bring it up was I tried to watch the episode. I missed. We're discussing. This is Neil deGrasse. It's deGrasse, not Degrassi, correct?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. and I think he's interstellar. He's beyond awesome, and he's a favorite of the late night show circuit, and he's just brilliant, and he can make the most complex things talk about them in layman's terms, and he's just awesome. So anyway, so I was trying to watch it on Xfinity, and it said that I wasn't a subscriber to Fox. Of course, that's a local network, and I am, so I got to talk to Comcast about that. So I haven't seen it yet, but Alan has seen it, and he's going to give us a solution for folks who missed it, how they might watch it. So why don't you tell us what the deal is?
Sure, I did see it. I saw it live, and one of the neat things is right as it began, they advertised their app. So if you go to Cosmos on TV, you can see the very prominent links for the Android Play Store and the Apple App Store. That's it. Sorry, really, the name escaped me for a moment. The iPhone App Store. To download the app for Cosmos. And you click on those links, it brings up a nice page that says, sorry, the app isn't available for your platform yet. But in the meantime, you can download Fox Now and view Cosmos. So I thought that was kind of insulting that they advertised an app that didn't exist yet. At any rate, I did download Fox Now, and that is my recommended app of the week. The only reason why I'm recommending it, and let's be perfectly clear here, is that although you can watch 14 or so other shows from Fox on this app, the only one I care about is Cosmos. Cosmos will be appearing through the app the day after it airs on Fox, which is at 9 p.m. on Sunday nights. It's also re-airing at 10 p.m. So right now, you're missing it to watch our wonderful show on the National Geographic Channel. At any rate, what did I think of Cosmos? There was a lot about it that I liked. It hit a number of important points. I think it started to really introduce what the scientific method is about. It doesn't overpromise. It may present something and says a lot of us believe this, or there's a lot of evidence to show this, or along those lines. And he distinguishes that from things where it's pretty well scientifically concluded. There were things about it I wasn't thrilled with. I thought the editing, it could have used a bit more editing. But overall, I'm incredibly pleased with this episode at any rate.
Okay, cool.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson's just an awesome guy in general.
Oh, yeah. I mean, coolness just drips off the guy.
Right. I've been following him for 10 years now, ever since I visited the Hayden Planetarium after their major remodel. And he is in charge of the Hayden Planetarium in New York
He actually
City.
has a job. He's not just on the Daily Show and stuff. He has a gig.
He is a real astrophysicist who does real research. He is the head of the Rose Center for Space Science at the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City.
He's not reading this. He knows this in his head.
I know this.
I'll
tell you why I know this in a minute. He is a Brooklyn-born boy who did not know there were more than 20 stars in the sky until he was in his late teens when he left the city to go learn, to go study astrophysics, because you can't see more than about 20 stars in a New York City sky. He is brilliant, and one of the things that, it was a well-known story, but that he mentioned in the episode, the final scene of the episode, was that he met Carl Sagan while he was looking at colleges as a 17-year-old. He was looking at Cornell University, where Sagan was teaching at the time, and Sagan invited him up to tour the facilities. And Carl Sagan, who was at that time a big astrophysicist, showed him around the facilities, talked to him for the day, gave him an autographed copy, a personally autographed copy of one of his books, which Tyson showed on the air. drove him back to the bus station, saw that it was snowing, and said, "Look, if you get stuck, give me a call. Here's my home number. I'll come pick you up."
Wow.
Okay, so and this, as Tyson said, this convinced him. He knew he was going to be a scientist. This convinced him to become an astrophysicist. And I think the point that he made from that was, it is incumbent on every scientist to help pass along what we know, what we have learned, to the next generation, so that they can build on what we have discovered. And I think that's crucial to science, and I think that's going to be crucial to what we see in these episodes of Cosmos.
It's interesting that we got some comments on our previous topic, which I want to get to in just a second. But it's interesting. Carl Sagan's widow was involved in this production, yes. the reboot of Cosmos, which was a runaway PBS hit, and is now on Fox. Ironically, I would say that they would have a show on science on the Fox. And one of the things that was noteworthy today, I saw a tweet about the ratings, and it was in third place. I think it had 5-point-something million. But I think this show it has a lot of shelf life. I think that I'm thinking the audience is probably more technical by nature and more likely to DVR it and watch it later. Like, I missed it, but I'm absolutely going to watch it, right? With their app or whatever.
I got to tell you, everyone I know, two things. One, all of the tech people I know either DVR'd it or are going to be watching it on their tablets or anything like that. All of them want to show it to their kids.
This talk about family-friendly programming, absolutely.
Right. It is not a perfect show for kids. I'm not going to say that it is. But I know one 5-year-old who will flip his wig when he watches it. And he doesn't even know it exists yet, and he's going to love it when he sees it. I know a 7-year-old who is going to love it when he sees it. There are lots and lots of kids out there who are not going to stay up till 10 o'clock watching even Cosmos on a school night, who are going to see this later and be thrilled with it.
There's actually a viral YouTube video of, I think it's a 5-year-old little girl, and she's jumping up and down as Cosmos is going on, and it was on Slate tweeted it, and anyway, she thoroughly approves of the program, but I think I think it's going to be a big record it and watch it later show, and I think that it's kind of a bum rap to say it was low rated. It may have been low rated, and it came in third place.
Third place is nothing. What were the two shows ahead of it?
I have no idea.
Third place isn't that bad for its time slot. We're talking 9 p.m. on Sunday. We're not exactly talking,
Sunday's a big deal. And 5 million, that's like O'Reilly numbers. That's a good Bill O'Reilly show for cable. I mean, for broadcast, it's pretty low. So I'm excited. So I'm going to get that app because I can't watch it on Xfinity. So I'm going to try to get the app.
So here's the thing. The other kicker, the thing that ticks me off the most, is it's sponsored by Samsung Galaxy.
Did they do a selfie of the Milky Way or something?
I think it's an amazing pitch by these guys to Galaxy on Cosmos, but the app wasn't even available for the Samsung Galaxy. What gives, guys? Come on. So anyway, yes, I know a great deal about Tyson. I've been following him for a number of years, and the reason why I know a great deal about him is because I'm in the New York City area, and I listen to my local National Public Radio station. This morning, they have him on every year or two because he's a local boy done really, really, really good.
Oh yeah.
And they had him on this morning interviewing him. And the other thing that happened this morning with WNYC is they released a new app, which Dan is going to tell you about for some strange reason. So Dan, tell us about this app.
Yeah, so I'm going to steal his thunder. First, I want to I want to do some comments here. Tim McCurry and good. I wanted a review on Cosmos. You're welcome, Tim. We aim to please. Debbie says, or let me do John first. He says you don't have to keep watching it. We're talking about the airplane. He says, but you could go back in time and see when it stopped sending the signal. Then you would have an idea as to where to look. And Debbie says, well, then how do they provide Wi-Fi on transatlantic flights? So it's not like they would be creating a whole new thing. I think for an airplane to be able to ping continuously would not take up dramatic amounts of bandwidth. But Alan thinks it would.
Well, no, you want more than what you said, Dan, was you want all of the black box telemetry data transmitted.
Correct.
Okay?
I think that should be transmitted in real time. I think if we can, you know.
And you know, one of the things though I'd point out is what makes you think they don't have that data.
I mean, are we going to do a conspiracy thing?
Well, no, it's no conspiracy thing. They knew where to start looking. They started looking there. They didn't see
They
it.
had them on radar. They knew that it was, you know, it was probably they said, you know, it's X minutes into the flight. It's probably here. And then later, like the next day, they said, you know, maybe it turned around at this point based on some radar thing. So I don't know. Alan has left.
No, Alan's still
Elvis has left the building.
I don't know. The problem isn't that they didn't know where to start looking. The problem is they couldn't find it there. They knew where to start looking. It wasn't there.
And it's crazy, all this stuff, like the oil slick that turned out not to be from the plane, and the door that wasn't. It's like the Kennedy thing. It's the grassy knoll. But this is, I mean, talk about dated content. They'll find it. And, I mean, I can't imagine being one of those family members. It's awful. And in the end, you know, whether it takes a day or 5 days to find the black box, and you know, what difference does it make? You're not going to bring those people back. And they typically keep searching until they find them. I think there's like 10 nations involved. It just seems to me that in this day and age, technology, you know, because science, that they should be able to know exactly where the thing is and what went wrong, and they shouldn't be looking for an international orange box to give clues that they should already have stored in some server somewhere. Maybe the NSA could take 2 or 3% of their server space and devote it to airline location tracking and key data to save lives or to determine the cause of these things, as opposed to who Alan and I have called and what porn sites we might have looked at in the last 48 hours. So there. Okay, so I saw this article. This was interesting. This is in The Verge. And let me share my screen. Okay, so NPR affiliates app can recommend talk radio based on your preferences. The key here is a pretty good summary. This is a good example of aggregation and curation that I like, where they dumb down an article to the basic things and throw a text spin on it. So ordinarily I would link to the root article from which the aggregator piece is based, but in this case I'm not. So with a feature called Discover in its WNYC app on iOS and Android, unlike the Cosmos app, it is actually available. It can now begin automatically finding and downloading talk radio that might be of interest to you, effectively building out a Pandora-style radio station that features talk shows instead of music. Because it's an NPR affiliate, shows can include more than just local news. To make it simpler, the app will ask how much time you have to spend listening, and will automatically download a mix of clips to fit that time. Because the app is built for New York, it technically asks how much time you'll be spending underground, because there's no reason it won't be just as helpful for any other commute. The app won't continue to learn your tastes. However, you simply enter a few of your interests, such as books, business, politics, pop culture, and it'll continue to build out playlists on that. And this is, you know, perfect for New York, right, Alan? Because here I'm in a rural area, you know, population 150, and everybody has a car and everyone drives to work, and there's plenty of parking. It's free, right? But in New York, it's a different story. So this is awesome, isn't it? What do you think? Because
This
you're a
is.
big fan.
You have to
What's
realize
your review of this?
when you see somebody commuting on the subway, they are, I would say, roughly 75% of everybody during their commute is playing Candy Crush and listening to music on their mobile phone. So yes, this app very much taps into how New Yorkers use their phones. And that's you get on board a subway that doesn't have wireless access for the most part. And you start listening to something that you've downloaded. So you don't have streaming, you have to have podcasts. Or you sit there playing a game on your tablet. And that game is almost always Candy Crush.
I've never played it. I'm afraid to. I've never played Angry Birds. I think I'm the only person who's never played Angry Birds. And I only bought a lottery ticket once because I'm afraid, because I'm ADHD, you get hooked on stuff, right? Because you're always interested in stimuli. It's the new thing. That's why I'm interested in news, right? Because every day it's a whole new job. You're doing the same thing, but every day is completely different. So I'm afraid to play Candy Crush. Maybe I'm a coward. Or maybe I've just come to grips with my fantasy disease, or whatever you want to call it. But that's not entirely related to the app.
Anything.
Because science. Yeah.
Everything that ever was, is, or ever will be. This is the cosmos.
Gravitas. So, any final thoughts, Mr. Furstenberg? Dr. Furstenberg, sorry.
No.
Folks, we have two programs. This program, Our Android Week, is every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We apologize for the delay, and hopefully our good friend and co-panelist, Kadeas Kalut from Newport Beach, California, will explain in a post why he couldn't make it tonight. We're still kind of curious. Go, Alan.
And hopefully by Friday, Pam will have recovered from her laryngitis and be able to join us again.
Absolutely, yes. She's unable to speak, which it's sad that she couldn't make the show because that would put us at a competitive advantage. If she were unable to speak, we could just basically troll her and she would not be able to disarm us with her usual biting wit.
She would get her revenge on you, Dan. You
Indeed.
know that.
Yeah, she would make something up if necessary, and people would believe it because she's so truthful. And she could get away with murder. Yeah, if she were. I'm glad she's an honest person, because if she were evil, then she could be very dangerous. Our other program is Google Plus Week, which is Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much. Our apologies to Sundar. We ran out of time, and we didn't get to that segment. But we want to wish all of you a wonderful Our Android Week. Thanks.